Michael was the heartbeat of the small town of Willow Creek. Anyone who crossed his path would quickly see that he was a man who devoted his life to helping others. His calloused hands never knew rest, and his sincere smile was a signature presence in everyone's lives around him. But while Michael was a pillar of generosity for the community, there was a shadow growing in his heart, something he hadn't yet realized, but that would soon change his life and everyone else's around him. From a young age, Michael was raised with the belief that helping others was life's highest purpose. At church, in the local grocery store, on the quiet streets of Willow Creek, he was known as the town's angel. If someone needed help fixing something, caring for a sick relative, or even organizing a community event, Michael was there, ready to answer the call. But what no one knew, not even Michael himself, was that he was about to discover an essential truth. Even angels need to take care of themselves. Michael's life seemed perfect in the eyes of others, but behind the closed doors of his modest home, the wear and tear were beginning to take their toll. Small signs of fatigue began to appear, such as constant back pain, sleep that no longer refreshed him as it once did, and the growing feeling that, no matter what he did, it was never enough. However, Michael continued to ignore these signs, believing that others' well-being always came before his own. Little did he know that this belief would soon be challenged in a way he never imagined. Deep down, the town of Willow Creek already sensed that something was different about Michael, even if no one dared to mention it. People began to notice that he seemed more tired, less vibrant, but still as dedicated as ever. What they didn't know was that, soon, they would need to return all the love and care they had received from Michael. Because sometimes the greatest lesson in generosity comes from learning how to receive, and Michael's journey was only just beginning, leading to a transformation that would impact the entire town. Over the years, the town of Willow Creek became almost dependent on Michael. He was always there, with a helping hand and a kind word, even as the weight of responsibilities grew unbearable. When winter arrived, bringing storms that damaged many homes, Michael was the first to offer help. He spent days assisting neighbors with roof repairs, reinforcing windows, and ensuring everyone was safe and warm. But while he tirelessly worked to protect others, his own home remained in disrepair, a silent metaphor for the state of his soul. Michael's responsibilities weren't limited to emergencies. He was the go-to advisor for personal struggles, a volunteer at church events, and even a tutor for kids who needed help with their homework. With each new request for help, Michael found it impossible to say no, despite the growing exhaustion consuming him. He convinced himself that his life only had value if he was serving others, ignoring the signs of burnout that his body and mind were sending. What he didn't realize was that this constant race to help was leading him down a dangerous path, where he could lose much more than he gained. It was during the organization of a large charity event to raise funds for the local hospital that Michael finally began to feel the impact of his lifestyle. What was supposed to be a celebration of unity and solidarity turned into a test of endurance for Michael. He barely had time to sleep or eat, and the pressure to ensure everything went perfectly weighed heavily on his shoulders. That night, as he dragged himself home, exhausted and aching, Michael felt a sense of emptiness for the first time, something he had never experienced before. It was as if the flame that motivated him was slowly burning out. Gradually, the residents of Willow Creek began to notice the change in Michael. His once vibrant smile now seemed forced, and he grew more distant, lost in his own thoughts. The people he had always helped began to worry. However, Michael's belief that he couldn't stop, that he had to keep helping everyone, prevented him from asking for help. He found himself trapped in a cycle of generosity that, instead of strengthening him, was destroying him. But as the town would soon realize, even the strongest man needs a shoulder to lean on, and Michael was about to learn this lesson in the most profound and moving way possible. The turning point in Michael's life came one Sunday, right after morning mass, when he was urgently called to help repair the local school. The old structure needed immediate attention before the new school year, and as always, Michael was the first to volunteer. But as he tried to lift a heavy beam, he felt a sharp pain in his back that forced him to stop for the first time in a long while. He tried to mask the pain and keep going, but his body simply couldn't take it anymore. Michael collapsed right there, in front of everyone, unable to move. The silence that followed was more deafening than any words. The news of Michael's collapse spread quickly throughout the town, and soon a small crowd gathered around him. His friends and neighbors, those he had always helped, stood there, worried and feeling a mix of guilt and sadness. How had they not noticed how much he was sacrificing? Emma, his longtime friend, was among them and was the first to speak. "Michael, you've always been there for all of us, but you never stop to think about yourself. We need you, but we need you to be well." These words resonated deeply with everyone present, who began to realize that, by accepting so much help from Michael, they had also burdened him. The townspeople quickly decided to help Michael, but this time in a different way. They took him to the doctor, cared for him, and made sure he got the rest he needed. During those days of recovery, Michael was forced to confront a truth he had long avoided. He couldn't keep giving so much of himself without taking care of himself. The physical pain he felt was just a reflection of the emotional and mental exhaustion he had accumulated over the years. For the first time, Michael allowed others to take care of him, and it was in this moment of vulnerability that he began to understand the true meaning of community and mutual support. As Michael recovered, he received daily visits from people who came to thank him for everything he had done for them. But these visits were not just about gratitude. They were also to show Michael that he was not alone. Each person brought something: a meal, a funny story, advice, or simply companionship. Michael, who had always believed his mission was to help, now saw that his true contribution to the community went beyond physical tasks. He had created bonds, cultivated friendships, and inspired an entire town to be more supportive. During one of these visits, Emma, with tears in her eyes, said, "Michael, you've always been our foundation, but even the foundation needs maintenance. We all need you, but we need you to take care of yourself too. It's not weakness to ask for help, it's wisdom." These words marked a new beginning for Michael. He understood that caring for others didn't mean completely sacrificing himself. He learned that to continue being the strength of the community, he first needed to be strong for himself. And so, Michael's transformation was not just physical, but also emotional and spiritual, revealing a new form of generosity that included self-love. After the painful realization that he needed to take care of himself, Michael began to make significant changes in his life. He accepted help from the friends and community he loved, who now came together to repay all he had done. The school repairs were completed without his direct leadership, but with his careful supervision and words of encouragement. Michael saw, perhaps for the first time, that the town of Willow Creek could organize and take care of its own needs as long as everyone contributed their talents and efforts. This new balance brought a sense of relief and satisfaction that he hadn't expected. Over time, Michael began to establish healthy boundaries. He was still the same generous and helpful man, but now he understood the importance of preserving his own energy and well-being. When Mrs. Rose needed help with her garden, Michael showed up with a shovel in hand, but this time, he also brought a group of young volunteers to learn and assist. He became a mentor, teaching the next generation the importance of helping others while also caring for themselves in the process. The town, which had once relied so heavily on Michael, began to thrive in a culture of cooperation and mutual support. The changes in Michael's life also brought a new perspective to the other residents of Willow Creek. They began to see the value in sharing responsibilities and not overburdening one person. The community events, which had previously depended solely on Michael's tireless energy, were now organized by diverse committees where everyone had a voice and a role to play. The children he had helped with schoolwork began to help each other, forming small study groups and creating bonds that strengthened the community. Michael watched all of this with quiet pride, knowing that his new approach was bearing more lasting fruit. In his personal life, Michael also experienced a profound transformation. He began to take better care of his health, making time to rest, read, and even travel to neighboring towns. something he had never allowed himself to do before. The residents, seeing this change, felt even more respect and admiration for him. Now, Michael was not just an example of generosity, but also of balance and self-care. And so, the community of Willow Creek grew, not just in numbers, but in wisdom and solidarity, with Michael leading by example, showing that true strength comes from a generous heart that also knows how to care for itself. Over time, Willow Creek became a reflection of Michael's new philosophy of life. The town, once heavily reliant on his tireless help, now thrived in a culture of collaboration and mutual support. Michael had shifted from being the sole pillar of the community to the catalyst for a change that benefited everyone. He remained a central figure in the town's life, but instead of carrying the weight of everyone's needs alone, he guided and inspired others to help themselves and each other. The transformation was not just in the town, but in Michael as well, who felt lighter and more at peace than ever before. One of the most significant moments for Michael occurred during the annual town festival. This event, which he used to organize single-handedly, saw him participating as an honored guest that year. Watching from a distance, he saw how each part of the festival was being coordinated by different groups of residents, each contributing their skills and talents. The festival was a huge success, and when Michael was called on stage to receive special recognition, he realized that his true legacy wasn't in what he had done alone, but in what he had taught others to do together. Michael's life became a living example of the balance between generosity and self-care. He continued to help whenever he could, but never again at the expense of his own health or happiness. Surprisingly, he found that this new way of living made him feel even more connected and valued by the community. Friends and neighbors, who once saw him only as a savior, now saw him as a fellow human being, with his own needs and vulnerabilities. This created a deeper bond between Michael and the others, based on mutual respect and understanding. At the end of a long day, as he watched the sunset from his porch, Michael reflected on his journey. He understood that by learning to take care of himself, he had taught the town a valuable lesson. That true love, the kind that builds and strengthens, starts from within and radiates outward. Willow Creek flourished not only because of Michael's generosity, but because of the wisdom he gained along the way. And with a serene smile, Michael knew he had found his place in the world, a place where he could both help and be helped, in a harmonious balance that nourished both his soul and that of the community. Michael's story teaches us that true generosity isn't just about how much we help others, but also about recognizing and respecting our own needs. Helping others is a noble mission, but it's essential to remember that we can only give our best when we take care of ourselves. Michael discovered that by balancing his desire to serve with self-care, he became stronger and happier, empowering those around him to become more independent and supportive. This lesson shows that the value of our contribution to the community lies not in sacrificing everything we are, but in sharing our strengths sustainably. When we set healthy boundaries, we allow others to grow and develop their own skills, creating a mutual support network where everyone has the opportunity to shine. Michael's story reminds us that self-care is not selfish, but a fundamental part of a generous and balanced life, where everyone can benefit and thrive together. Finally, the moral of the story teaches us that the true strength of a community lies in unity and the ability to share responsibilities. When each person contributes within their abilities, respecting their own limits, the community as a whole becomes stronger and more resilient. Michael learned and teaches us that the path to a fulfilling life is not only in giving but also in receiving, in accepting help when needed, and in finding a balance between serving others and caring for oneself. Did you enjoy Michael's journey? This story teaches us that the true balance between helping others and taking care of ourselves is the key to a fulfilling and happy life. If you were inspired by this lesson, leave a like and share it with someone who also needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more transformative stories like this. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss any updates, and stay with us on this journey of growth and inspiration. Together, we can build a stronger and more empathetic community. See you in the next story.